Hey everybody, okay, today I'm going to pull this piece off of these bars because obviously you can see the bars decided to want to tweak. Now even when I do that, what winds up happening is I still have, it's torn across the bottom here, so that's got to come in, which really sucks. But I've already done this to a couple. And part of the problem we have is that this paper, for some reason, will tear on its own. So I figured a different way of doing this, of pulling these off, and I'll see if it works with this one. And then also I did figure a way of sealing around the edges to kind of hide stuff. So that's a whole nother video. But right now, all I'm going to do, I'm going to grab myself one of my sharpest blades, and these things are like little razors. Well, that is a razor. Okay, and I'm going to come in here and cut it right along that edge. Because that eliminates only about a ½ inch off thing. Now there is another problem with the crease. And it pulls off pretty easily. Okay. And there's also a fold in there too. So this right here, you want to make sure that blade is turned down because you will cut your finger like nobody's business. So sometimes your staples are right at that edge, and so you want to try to stay away from them because they will dull this blade faster than nobody's business. And because you're undercutting the next set of bars, you should be okay. I would say don't try this with, try to do one score, but if you do multiple scores, you're going to cut in different places, so it has to be done in one cut. And you can see it comes off. Hang on, sorry about that. So, make sure the blade is facing down so you don't, okay. That wore out that blade. Now another type of blade, one is a mat cutter blade, okay. These are C&H mat cutter blades. So they always come wrapped in paper because that's how sharp they are. Okay, the other kind is utility blades, which are a little more blunt, but you want to keep in mind that sometimes bluntness is what you need. So I'm going to come in here. Now these aren't quite as sharp, but they can take a little more abuse. And I'm trying to be real careful as toward where I go with this. There we go. Okay, I'm going to cut this like this. Okay. And this is already cut down to this one. So now I can just come this way. And I'm going to turn that blade so I get the new sharp blade out. Just remember, anytime you're cutting through things, you're going to, there you go, perfect. And this was actually, I hate to tell you, but this was actually easy to pull in these staples. I'm actually resizing this to 30 by 50 on this. Now I can remove, well, I should be able to remove this, hold on. Oh, so that didn't cut all the way through. Wow. Yeah, these. Oh. Okay, so I'm going to come in this side here. I need to cut this loose. I stapled this to kind of protect this bottom edge. So I'm going to come in here and the blade, preferably a sharp one. Okay. Now, just an FYI, it doesn't mean these stretcher bars are bad. It just means that when that canvas dries, this paper dries so tight it tweaks bars. So, now that I've got that done, I don't want to cut this off. I want to leave it. I got to be real careful of those creases because the last time I did this, it actually tweaked the bars. The paper ripped. So I'm going to be stretching this a little bit loose. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is make sure 50. So I can come in here 50 pretty easy. Okay, and 30. I can come in 30 pretty good. The sides are pretty good. It's top and bottom, so I will trade off down here because this side down here, this is where this is at. Now this original, believe it or not, I'll only wet it from the back, and that might keep this piece together. I don't know. Okay, this is kind of a new area for me. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to chop the stretcher bars, get those done, and be ready to stretch this. I'm going to pull this off here. Well, I could do it on this one. Or I'm going to save that one. I'm going to save that one to paint on. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to put you on pause. I'm going to cut the bars and we'll join the bars together, okay? Okay, here we go. So in the meantime, while you were on pause, I chopped my braces. I cut my center brace, and then I cut my bars. I cut my bars first and those. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to use my corner vices that I use for custom picture framing, because then I can guarantee it's going to be pretty darn close as towards square. So you always have a square end, you always have a short end, and some shops actually have it marked short, long, so everybody who does this, it's consistent across the board. So I'm going to do here. Now, I'm not going to do anything right now with this, but what I am going to do, so this thing will, okay, do one more. So, just about 3. So I'll put them out there, and I'll put one out there when I turn this. Okay. So I'll put this right about there, and I'll put these right about there. And all these are is just my 10 by 10s that I use for canvases. So right now I'm just using this as a, okay, now see that? There we go. We just need it to rest so it doesn't go down too much. Okay, and all I'm going to do is I want to square this thing off. Make sure it's got a good join, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these. These are going to be glued, which I never do with my regular canvases. But I am going to do them with this because I'm going to be using a longer brad. I'm going to brad nail the corners like I do on my frames. And on this one here, this is a standard. It's like 1 5/8. I'm going to use these right here. Okay. I'm going to load this thing up. And a bunch of these. Okay, there you go. Now, I also use Tight Bond, which is a, yeah, don't do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it. Put it in. What I'm looking for is a solid joint on there. Now this right here, this is going to go in about this far, so it's actually really good. And I'm going to do 2. Well, let's do a 3rd back. And that should be good. Now to come out the bottom, just wipe off the glue on the bottom and you're good. Okay, there's one. And fit your pieces first before you glue them, because that way then you know you're going to line up and you got a better chance of making sure this thing is going to stay. Okay, that's pretty tight. I want to make sure this is even, this is even. Run your finger across there, make sure one isn't more higher than the other. If it is, push it down. Okay. Now these are perfect 90s. Okay. So these breaks, if your thing is off, it's going to be off. Okay. If you cut your bars to the same length, which sometimes I do. Okay. And what I'm looking for is for the glue to squeeze out. That way I know it's got contact with all places. It's glue in the center. Now you come in here. And that's it. And it's got a good corner on it, so I'm happy with that. Now, this is where things get really interesting. Okay, because what I'm going to do now, I want to bring this way. I want to put this first one in. And I'm going to slide this down here underneath that in. And I'll put another one here. Okay. Or I could have done that the other way. And on this one here, I'm not going to worry too much about that end because I'm going to turn this when I get it. Okay, so I'm going to slide that one out. Well, I'm going to try to slide it out. Okay, so everything's equal. So nothing actually is flopping around. Everything's pretty even. Okay, put this in. Now, some places they want you to let these dry, the corners dry before you join them, but I'm of a different mind. Now this also depends on which way you're gonna, okay, like these, of course these bars here, I'm gonna bring this back a little bit. And you want contact with the whole area. So like this right here, it's going kind of like this. So I'm going to put a shim on this part of my, what do you call it, frame. As soon as I can find my, oh, there they are. And the shims, I mean, they can be anything. I'm going to use matte blades for this. And there we go. Lengthen that. Lines up pretty good. I'm going to move it out. I'll put a few out here too. And these shims don't have to be very big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. There we go. Okay. Once you have it lined up, okay, there we go. And you know, so I put 3 shims in here, 2 shims in here, and they weren't very thick, but it was enough to line up those 45s to where it's going to get good contact. So remember where that's at. I'm going to put glue on one surface. There we go, good contact. I'm going to call that. Again, I'm going to run 2 to the outside here. Run 1 back about 1 inch, and that should be good. Okay, now I'm going to flip this thing. I'm going to try to be real careful with it so I don't just, you know, spring anything like that right there. Okay. But the glue's coming out, so I don't worry too much about that. Okay. I'm going to tighten that. Oh, it looks like this is going to have a pretty good... Okay. Okay, and it's like, it's coming out here at the edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple of these right here. Line it back up. See how she tightens up. Like I said, these are 45, these braces, so if your work is off, it's because these bars are not cut correctly. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this. Oh, there we go. Okay, I gotta go up. I'm gonna take this has got to come up a little bit. That's pretty good. Looks like I got a good join. And remember, again, I might tap that down with a hammer. Just yes, and watch out for bottle Coke bottles. Come on. Okay. I wouldn't use a waffle hammer on that, but that's all I had, so I'm not too worried about it. Okay, so now healthy dose of glue, because remember, Jesus, hang on. There we go. You want to make sure all the glue is kind of off that. Okay. Now that I got that glue there, I'm going to come in. And I want it to squeeze out, because that way I know it's getting a good join. Okay, there we go. Take away that. Take away that. Now I can come in here. That happens. Worst one on the face of the planet. But it will happen to you, and you just have to work around it. Now, okay. So what I'll do is this will be around the back, and the other side will be the front. Okay? So that means this right here that I won't worry too much about. So I don't think I can find that little set. Oh, here it is. Oh, look at that. Type bond is great for so many things. And really, that's not supporting anything. All that's going to do is just keep so the canvas doesn't wrap around there. I've got it glued pretty good. I'll put some painter's tape on that and hold it in place. Now go on to my next step. There we go. Okay, my next step. Get everything loosened up. Pull this off for a second. Now I'm using 2x2s for this because I do not want to have to deal with bars that bend or break or anything. So 2x2s are fairly strong, but I'm still going to do braces on the corners and the center. Okay. Let's put these back down here. Even got 12x12s. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to keep this. I also want to have my regular staple gun. Hammer, don't need. I'm going to try to keep this as clean as possible for you. I'm going to put these in here. Put this in here. And then one thing I am going to do is I'm actually going to take some shims. Some, I'll show you. These are wood block. These are actually bookmakers wood or woodmaker's board. So here, this stuff right here, I'm going to raise this up at least by about 3 inches. Or not 3 inches, sorry, at least, you know, the height of here and here. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to mark this, and if I can find a good pencil. There we go. This should be 50. No, that won't hurt anything. What? So 49 7/8. And it's off just a touch. Okay, that's right on the knot. So this should always be interesting. We'll see if I can get this thing to do what I want it to do. Okay. Turn this. Ooh, that didn't do it. Really? Wow. Every single one of them. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to grab my regular staple gun. Buy your staples by the case. It's a lot easier to deal with it. If you buy a box, it's only going to last you so long. Okay. Okay. And I will actually do this with this. Clean up that edge. Show what I'm talking about here. Those blow out the front. Which, anytime you go through knots, that's exactly what's going to happen. But I'll show you how to take care of it. Okay. There we go. Wow, that's a tough knot. Okay, so once we have that done, and that's basically just hold this in place. Now, this is cut to the inside of there. So this actually has about that much space in between it, so I had to pull the bars as you've seen. Okay, now I'm going to come this way. And since I don't have to worry too much about out there, I'm just going to use 3 of these in here. So everything then becomes the right level. Okay. And we're going to try this with our nail gun again. Okay, I'm going to do that there on this one. I'm going to turn this, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to measure all my angles. And I probably should have did that with that one, but that's okay. So we'll go this way here, see where we're at. Okay, 57 and an eighth. 57 and 7/8. Oh, we're within a 16th, so I'm going to call that good. Okay. Okay, and you always do opposites. So I'm going to come over on this side here. I guess I can turn it. This way I'm going to turn this way. Get in there. I'll move these so we have those. Okay, I can pull this up. This is probably overkill for this size, for the bars and stuff, but you know, when you're want to make sure your work stays exactly where it's supposed to be. That's the reason why you do it. Knots. Anytime you buy lumber from Home Depot, just be prepared. You're getting what you pay for. Okay. So now, yeah, okay, I can do that with that. You want your braces to be below the surface of your canvas, whether it's paper or it's canvas, because that way it doesn't ride up there where you don't want it to be. Okay, and just so you know, there it is right here. So this right here will be center supported, I don't have to do anything this way because most of the weight's going to be on here pulling in. That's short enough, and these braces should keep it pretty sturdy. And now I'm ready to stretch the canvas, or stretch the, okay, I'm going to get this thing set up, so hang on. Okay, on this one here, I actually, because I don't want my table getting wet and I need to keep the moisture, a lot of moisture off of my watercolor, what I do is I go ahead and, lay white towels, okay? Now this one here, I'm also going to do something a little bit different. So the first thing I want to do is I want to measure this out. I'm going to take my bars, make sure I don't have glue everywhere, okay? Pull this painter's tape. Okay. I'm going to set it down on here. Now the part of the canvas down here was not very good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up. I want to make it even. I already know that's about the same over here on this side. So down here, I want to leave a little bit extra. I do not want to have, I want to be able to wet this, wrap it around by hand. I'm not going to use stretcher pliers on this one because the last time I did it, it actually ripped into this, and I don't want to do that. But what I am going to do is I'm just going to take my come up into the just enough. Yeah, I think what I'm doing is I'm just going to come up just enough where I can take all that off. Good sharp blade if you've got one. There we go. Okay. Now, another thing I'm going to do is I want to draw my marking lines around there, and I want a pencil to do that. And of course, I want to find a pencil, because that way I can line up my bars. I'm going to mark my bars where I know which side goes to what. Pull those off. And just to make sure that I have, I'll set that there. Now I need my shorter 48-inch one. Okay, I'm just gonna anybody who's done a lot of stretching knows this part. Okay, I want to move that up here, and I want to turn this so I can get that other edge. Now I'm also going to do something a little different with this I didn't do on the last few, is I'm only going to wet one side of the paper. So I'm going to wet this back side to give it a little more strength on that inside. So maybe that'll help it from not tearing. Okay, now, hang on folks. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually only wet one side of this. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to wet that crease down where it was, because that's going to be really important because I want to drag this there. And I am going to coat the crap out of this with water on the back, so at least have a stretch to it. Because again, you want it to dry. And I'm using a brush by Mandalay. It's a very soft bristle brush. And I want enough water in there where it'll actually soak into the paper fibers and be malleable. Now this is also preparing me for a really large commission that I need to do. Okay. I'm going to feel my paper. That's crap, I am going to have to do that other side. Okay. Well, maybe what I'll do is I will just do the outside of it. And you don't want to lift the color off your painting. So that's another reason for using this soft bristle brush. I'm hoping this is enough. Yeah, it looks to me like it's going to be. Okay. So we'll see how this works. So, well, all I can do is say, here we go. I'm going to turn this over. Remove my canvas, make sure that the bars are facing the right way. Okay, here we go. And again, just lining that up. Okay, this is going to be easy. Finger tight is best. Now notice I didn't do any centers, okay? If it's wet, it's going to work pretty good. Okay. That's right. You also notice I'm not turning it either. I'm just basically putting the staples. I'm going to go ahead and increase that. I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to turn it. And I'm going to do like I said, stretching watercolor paper is quite a bit different than stretching your regular canvas, so you want to experiment a little bit to make sure that what you have is exactly what you want. Do not let your paper dry out when you're doing this, and try to keep all sharp objects away from your canvas face, because since it's wet, it will tear and rip. I'm trying to keep that from doing this time. Okay, now I'm going to turn this as much as I possibly can, keep most of it on there. So here we go. Try to hold your staple gun a little bit further away so the staple sets but doesn't cut through the canvas or the paper. Another reason for keeping a clean surface is so the paint does not do what it's doing. So I'm going to come here. I've been experimenting with different methods. I'm stretching watercolor paper, and I'm having to do this due to how large this watercolor has to be. Okay, here we go. So we're going to see, there's the picture if you can see it. Okay, now we're going to see exactly if this will dry the way I want it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set it on an area where it can dry, and you want to walk away from it. You do not want to sit there and study it, waiting for paint to dry or waiting for watercolors to dry. It's like a pain in the neck, and there it is. I'll turn it so you can see it. So if I've done my job right, it'll dry really nice. If I haven't, it won't. But I think after the experimentation with a few of these, in fact, I'm just going to move it over here. It's kind of a little cleaner area. Okay, and just so you know, I've been experimenting with, sometimes you have to staple around your edges, okay, underneath here. So I've been experimenting with a archival PVA size. It's a neutral pH, and you basically just wrap it, so then you get this kind of really nice yeah, that's how it should sound, and that's how it should look, tight and even across there. So this one here is going to be my next one, and so I'm sitting there just waiting. But there was a little bit of color left on this, so I'll take these, wash them, bleach them, and set them up for the next time. So anyway, guys, I know this has gone on for about an hour. I do apologize that it was so long, but anyway, this is Kevin with Hedgehog Academy. Hopefully this has been inspirational, educational, and also instructional. Okay, not necessarily in that order, but hopefully something. So anyway, guys, have a good one, everybody. Try to stretch some watercolor paper, and I'll show you how to make really cool watercolor, not watercolor, but actually book cover papers one day. So anyway, you have a good one. It's a bit warm in here too. Whoa, sweating. So anyway, guys, have a good one, and thank you so much for viewing.